Oh, happy day. We have some Witcher 3 news for Nintendo Switch. Obviously, it was a pretty big deal when Witcher 3, if not kind of surprising despite rumors, when it was announced for Nintendo Switch during the Nintendo Direct from E3 2019. And some people have expressed concern with the game, how bad are the visuals going to get pared back? How's the frame rate going to run? Is this game even worth porting over? The Witcher 3 is considered one of the greatest Western RPGs ever made, one of the best games from the current generation. And while you can argue there are games today that look better than The Witcher 3 just in terms of visual fidelity, that's not really all The Witcher 3 is about. It has stellar gameplay, amazing story and writing, amazing voice acting, if I'm being completely honest. And there's a ton of content, and The Witcher 3 is also well known for also doing what most people consider DLC correctly. They charged a decent price for their DLC, but delivered what felt like a full $60 new game worth of actual content in those DLC packs. Now, that's a little insane. It's just like imagining that all in my brain is hurting a little bit, but man, oh man, is there definitely a right and wrong way to do DLC, and I definitely think CD Projekt Red got a hell of a lot more right than wrong. Now, we know the complete edition's coming to Switch, which includes all DLC and all that jazz, but what actually is interesting is that while Saber Interactive is actually the primary people handling the port, they're actually handling the port in partnership with CD Projekt Red. And what that essentially means is there are some employees from CD Projekt Red helping port this game to Switch. One of those employees is actually CD Projekt Red's UI coordinator, Alvin Liu. And he did an interview with VGC, and here's some things he had to say about Switch. First up, obviously about the user interface. That's directly what he's involved with is UI. And he says, the biggest changes we made to the game involve the user interface, and how you interact is a bit different on the Switch compared to other versions. He doesn't really elaborate what the differences are. I assume touchscreen support or something like that to select different spells or different whatever. So I assume that's probably the differences. There's also the fact that it has to be playable on a small screen, so maybe they had to make some UI adjustments there to make it more usable, condense it. I'm not exactly sure because he didn't go into details on it, but that's obviously something he would know because that's something he had direct involvement with per his job description. But what people are really interested, obviously, are hardware trade-offs, because some people are really concerned about this game. And here's what he had to say about the trade-offs to make this work on Nintendo Switch. Right now, there's a bit less foliage, and some of the draw distances are lower, but it still looks amazing. I was very impressed. Unless you pointed out a lot of the changes to me, I probably wouldn't have noticed them. Also, in talking about, how they are cooperating with Saber Interactive and making this all work, employees from both sides, he had this to say, is that you're actually getting the full Witcher 3 and all expansions. We're not really cutting anything. And then he goes on to point out that we're really happy with how The Witcher 3 is playing on Switch, and it's still a quality that we're proud of. And I feel like that's an important statement because there's been some people arguing with me, albeit it's kind of backed down a little bit over the last few days, and maybe it's because of interviews like this. But some people are concerned that the quality of the Witcher 3 experience could be impacted by Switch, that it's at some point there is a certain degradation level in The Witcher that it hurts the original vision of the game, and the only people that can really give authority on that would be the employees at CD Projekt Red. It doesn't matter Saber Interactive did most of the grunt work. The bottom line is this is CD Projekt Red's baby, and this is someone from CD Projekt Red who's not part of the sales and marketing team or any of that. He's literally a UI coordinator, and he is saying, hey, look, we're really happy with how it's playing on Switch, and it's a quality they're proud of. They're not just happy with it and like, oh yeah, that's good enough. They're proud of how it's running on Switch. This should give you a little bit more confidence that it's probably really close to 30 FPS in most situations in this game. And I realized, I think the PlayStation 4 version was also 30 FPS. I think I might have misspoke on that in another video, so I apologize for that. I don't own a PlayStation 4, so I was just kind of, I guess, assuming that it should be 60 FPS, but obviously that wasn't the case. But that's neither here nor there. Point is that The Witcher 3 on the Switch apparently is something CD Projekt Red's pretty happy with. They're proud of how the game is turning out. Maybe they're even surprised. Obviously, we know the resolution's been lowered and stuff like that, but that's expected, I suppose. 720p, 540p, dynamic resolution. Obviously, those are kind of expected changes out of these kind of games at this point. But the fact that he's like, look, like, yeah, there's things that are cut back. There's less foliage. The draw distance is lower. But like, those are the two major things. You can also notice in like a screenshot like this, Geralt's hair doesn't necessarily look the greatest, as you can see in this close-up. It's interesting because actually the guy's hair next to him looks a little bit better, but he's also further in the distance, different angle. Because like Geralt's facial hair looks fine here. It's just like his actual main hair kind of looks a little not as it should. But I mean, you're looking at some of these other screenshots, and it's like, yeah, they're not native like 1080 or something, but it still looks pretty damn nice. And I think The Witcher 3, the fact that this is holding up on Switch, I've gone to this place before, and I'm going to go right back to it. Man, The Witcher 3 running on Switch is the only evidence I needed that I was right all along, and I'm just going to pat myself on the back for it. There is no reason The Witcher 3 or any other third-party game can't be on Switch. The Witcher 3, to me, would be one of the most taxing games imaginable to put on the Nintendo Switch. And open world, pushing graphics to the bleeding edge, all the physics going on, the complicated story, like just so much going on in this game that people might feel isn't a fit on Switch and won't work on Switch, and here we are. Obviously, final judgment will come when the game comes out. We'll be able to go hands-on, or other people will be able to go hands-on like Digital Foundry and be able to give you more direct graphics comparisons. And here's the thing, it's weird too, because a lot of these graphics comparisons, because some people are kind of sick of hearing that name Digital Foundry, right? Because it gets associated with some of the fans out there that really love console wars. It's strange because Digital Foundry in almost every major AAA game comparison has come away impressed. But if you read the comments, you could tell the viewers come away as the Switch sucks. It's such a strange dynamic because they'll be like, hey, look, yeah, obviously Doom's going to run better on the other platforms. Better this, better anti-aliasing, better blah, blah, blah. But like, dude, what it's able to do on this technology on Switch, like, it doesn't feel like that should be possible, but it is. And it's really good and very playable and highly enjoyable and worth the price of admission. It's like they're ignoring all the positives that the Digital Foundry has to say about it and being like, yeah, but I mean, it's the worst looking version. Worst running version. Like, well, okay, yeah. Guess what, folks? Any multi-platform AAA game that comes to Switch, it's going to be the worst, resolution, frame rate, worst, general performance version of the game. It's going to look visually worse than any other platform. That doesn't mean that it's not a great game. I talk about this all the time. Resolution and frame rate don't make a game great. The game has to be great regardless. And when you have a game like The Witcher 3, which is a known quantity and is absolutely fantastic, and yes, obviously it looks way better on my PC than it's ever going to look on Switch, it's all about the experience and whether that experience is maintained. And I honestly think a lot of us Switch owners are going to have many moments in this game where we're stopping in the vistas, just like I did back on, the PC in 4K. Where we'll just stop and be like, look at what this game's doing. Like, this isn't Google Stadia running this. This isn't xCloud. This is running natively on Switch on a 32 gigabyte cartridge. If you bought it physically, everything's on it. Supposedly no day one update. I'm gonna kind of hold my breath on that one. I think every AAA game known to man has had a day one update on Switch. But I think the point is it's not going to be like, a 20 gigabyte file you're downloading, right? Like, it'll just be like minor enhancements and improvements or whatever. But whoo, baby. I mean, even just looking at some of these screenshots, I'm kind of like, you know what? Yeah, it's blurry, but that's on Switch. What you're seeing right now, it literally says down in the left corner, captured on Nintendo Switch. Yeah, it's not like this super high resolution thing, but you cannot tell me that that's not impressive looking. And this is on whatever device you're watching this on. You're watching this on a desktop PC. Guess what? The Switch screen's smaller than that, but I guess you can get a kind of an idea of what it might look like, at least, not in motion here, but you can get kind of an idea of what it would look like on a TV. I mean, just looking at the water, like, I get it. It's not the greatest, visuals ever, but damn, this is on Switch. How are you not impressed with this on Switch? People were saying this kind of stuff wasn't possible. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Like, one thing that's really clear in this, too, for the UI is, like, the background's blurry, but it looks like the UI is not. The UI might actually be running in 720p all the time, which I think is awesome since there's a lot of text to read in this game. Even the mini-map looks like it might be 720p here. Like, this is impressive stuff. This looks good. Like, I realize if you're, like, 4K, Xbox One X, whatever, even PlayStation 4, you might look at this and be like, oh, man, that's ugly. But, like, I don't know, man. Imagine this is running on a dang Switch. Now, obviously, we don't know the frame rate performance yet, but this is good. The only screenshot that has been provided that's supposedly captured on Switch by CD Projekt Red is just like this one here with the hair not necessarily looking the greatest. I mean, I guess, and look at this, it doesn't necessarily look the greatest on the guy in the back either. And the texture work on the guy in the back, like on his leather, looks like it maybe hasn't fully popped in. I mean, obviously, blurred, but still, like, this is running on a Nintendo Switch and shrunk down on a 6.2-inch screen. I'd be hard-pressed to even notice the hair issues. This is such an impressive game. And I can't wait to go hands-on with it, man. I don't know if I'll be able to pick it up this year. I mentioned before that I kind of blew all my gaming budget to surprise my son with a Nintendo Switch for his birthday on Friday, and I'm pretty stoked about that. So I don't know if I'll be picking this one up, but if something changes and I can come up with the extra money, I never beat all the DLC and all that for The Witcher, so I would love to have the complete edition and just relive the supposed final adventure of Geralt. And see what happens when I get to the end of it all. Because somehow it's been all these years and I've avoided spoilers. I still stand by the fact that if you're not actively looking for information on something, it's really easy to avoid information on it. And when information pops up that's spoilery, don't click on it, don't read it, don't watch the video. Give it some time. You're eventually going to forget. So, I don't know, man. Like, this is an amazing experience that I can't wait to play on Switch eventually. So thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on this. Share this video. Drop a like. All that jazz. One note to some people. I did hear you. Right? There was a complaint about the number of ads on the video. I got you guys. I know I increased the number of ads, just kind of experimenting. Not necessarily with revenue, because I'm not seeing a big revenue increase from including more ads, which is weird. Like, you figure you should see more revenue increases. But what I did notice was that some of those videos I put more ads in were actually getting more traffic on those videos. And I don't know if there's a direct correlation here between YouTube preferring more ads on your video and them being able to sell more ads and thus them wanting to promote your video more. But it is interesting. On this video here, I only put 2 ads instead of the 3. But I do want to experiment with it some more, just see if there's some trick in YouTube's algorithm that makes it like, hey, look, there's a lot of ads in this video, so we're going to share it with a bunch of people. I wonder if that's an actual thing. It wouldn't surprise me if it was, because it's not something that Google's ever going to say out loud. They're not going to be like, oh, hey, by the way, if you put more ads in your video, you get more views. Like, I don't want to annoy you guys too much. You know how you can avoid all of that, though? You can become a YouTube premium subscriber, of course. You can also, head on over to patreon.com/Nintendo Prime. Also hit that member button, that little join button on the bottom of the video. Hey, become a member. Help support the channel. Get custom emojis. You get a custom icon by your name in my comment section and on live stream. So, hey, that's something to consider. Anyways, thanks for checking me out, and I'll catch you in the next video.